Well, we're here. We're here Saturday night. I was gonna do this Sunday, but I never know when I'm gonna have time Sunday. Sometimes I just sleep in till 9 or 9:30, whenever the kids will let us to on Sunday. Some days it's like 8, and then go to breakfast and do Sunday stuff. We got to go shopping, grocery shopping, which my wife hates with the kids because they drive her crazy at the store. I get a big kick out of it. So tomorrow we grocery shopping. Ava's got a party. Ollie has a sleep or play date in the afternoon. He's going to play at somebody's house. So I figured, you know what? We had a good day of training. We'll get into that in a little while. Got home and ordered some Chinese food from the place down the road. And Ollie likes Chinese food. It was really, really good. Or as our Chinese clients would say, food. It was good food. No, we don't have any Chinese clients. We will next year. Anyway, it was good Chinese food. We had a little bit of lunch and had to lay down. And I get up a little bit early, and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go down to Flamber. I'm going to blow the breathalyzer early, and I'm going to get some of this done. Now I'm looking at the time and looking at last week and the week before. I can't get everything in before my drives, but I can get a lot of it in, some of it anyway. So there's a lot of you that follow me personally on Facebook, and you saw the video I posted. Maybe you saw the video I posted in the middle of the week while I was at the track, at the farm track. Every so often I get a little pissed off. You see people. Last week, I guess, in Harness Racing Update, Jeff Gorell had written a letter. He was asking, I guess, the gist of it was he was asking for a survey to be done by the USTA to its client, to its membership, to see whether they'd want to give 5% of their purse money to marketing. Given the circumstances we are personally in Ontario, and watching everything unfold the way I did over the last decade, I would think it would be a no-brainer. And as I read on, I realized that they weren't going to do the survey. In fact, they had done a survey like this a couple of years ago. And but at the end of the day, what can they do? I mean, it's not like here. Well, it is and it isn't. In the States, every state obviously allots or has a contract with the racetracks in their region that mandates money either coming from a casino on site, or dedicated funds. And I would assume portions of that have marketing in it. Now, the USDA I'm sure has a marketing budget also, but the USDA is not a marketing company, and I think we've proven one thing, is that we can't market from inside our industry to the general public. We just can't connect, and that's nothing against the people at the USDA. I've worked with some of those people over the last 3 years, and they're great people, and they work every bit as hard as I ever did, and they know who they are. Good people. But at the end of the day, we're trying to connect with the general public, and it's very, very difficult. So what needs to happen, in my mind anyway, is that we do need to have funds put in place. I think it's easy for me to speak here because I know how it works here in Ontario. We need funds to be redirected to marketing, but we can't let the government market it either. The government's good at doing one thing, and that's spending money and costing you and I money. And, to have a marketing campaign done by the government for horse racing would, in my mind, would be an absolute shit show. And I think what we need to do is have some funds redirected to a private marketing firm that can market horse racing to the general public. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself. What are we going to market? So, for those of you who are online and read some of the news, if you will, from the industry, I believe I'm going to have a letter printed tomorrow in Harness Racing Update, along the same lines of what Jeff Gorell said. It was meant to be a response, and it ended up being its own thing, as it generally does when I talk. But it's important. It's important every so often to remind the people of the industry the problems of the industry. You can market whatever you want right now. No one cares. This product is the way. What are you going to market? What are we marketing right now? We're going to market horse racing, as is, wagering. People have told us for 3 decades they don't want to wager on horse racing. They've told us because they stop coming or they don't show up to the track. I'm sitting here at Flamborough. Burlington's over there. Hamilton's over there. Guelph's down that way. Ancaster. There's a multitude of towns and cities very close to here. Yet there's nobody over there, and if you went over there, 80% of the people there, and that might be low, might be generous, 80% of the people over there are here for the slots. So it was great. I had a guy, all the time I get people that'll message me or put on my social media walls, the stable's great, and I think you're doing a fantastic job, but virtually you have no idea what you're talking about. Virtually, if you can't show people a return on their money, a plan to have a return on their money, and then follow through, at least sometimes, with a return on their money, they have no interest in being involved in this game. And I couldn't disagree more. I've proved it time and time and time and time again. And they'll say, oh, well, it's, the jury's out. What the hell are you talking about, the jury's out? The jury's out on 426 people in 10 countries? No, the jury would be out if we had 16 people. We had 28 people. If we open it up next year and we had 52, you could show some growth and then say, the jury's still out. Jury's not out. I would suspect that the vast majority of the people that are watching this video and want to watch these videos on a daily, weekly basis, if you will, and care about anything we're doing at TheStable.ca understand that the only thing I've ever offered anybody is hard work, professionalism, communication, customer service, a good time. It would be great to win races. I'd love to think that Lawmaker's going to win the Hamiltonian this year. He's likely not. We're going to have fun finding out, though. And that's the ride. That's what TheStable.ca is. It's not empty promises. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's a ride along the way to see what we can do, see what these horses can become. The first year, we really stretched ourselves. We were really lucky to have Rose Run Speedster and a couple other 2-year-olds. Second year, Lawmaker, Cruising in Style, Canale Hanover, Wind Chaser. I can name 10 or 12. This year, the horses we bought, the horses you bought, I have expectations. I have high expectations. But I never ever jammed them down anybody's throat and said, we spent 3 times as much money as we did in 2017, so we should have 3 times as much luck. Don't worry, you're going to make money. Here's a business model. This is what we're going to do. I'd be an idiot if I did that. We do the best we can at TheStable.ca. We try as hard as we can. We put as much work into these horses, as much care as we can. Blood, sweat, and tears, as they say. And hopefully it turns out at the end. That's the business model of TheStable.ca, and that's what the business model of this industry should be. Stop promising people things that you cannot deliver. We're not the government. Start delivering on the things that you know you can deliver on. The hard work, the professionalism, customer service. Things that we know we can do and do right. Anyway, the gist of the article is pretty much that. Is that we're marketing the wrong thing. Nobody wants to bet horse racing. Sure, if I convince 50 of you people to come to the races with me and you don't wager that much, you'll probably bet that night. There's a good chance you might wager a few dollars. You might have some fun. You might wager again. That's how you build a clientele. That's a business model. It's a grassroots business model. It's the same way that businesses have been built since the dawning of time. Marketing, advertising helps. Having a good idea is great. But relying on word of mouth, return customers. These are the things that build businesses, build strong businesses. This is the business model we should be focusing on in horse racing. My humble opinion. So anyway, the article, if they print it, I assume they will. I think they said they would. The article tomorrow, the story I wrote, was about marketing, about advertising, and the questions I asked were 2 simple questions. What are we marketing, and who are we marketing it to? Because we're not marketing wagering. People aren't buying that. People aren't buying wagering. They might wager when they get here, much like they might drink at a bar when they get there. But you don't advertise cheap liquor for the most part to get people to a bar. You advertise an experience. Good time out. Sit down with your friends. Nice atmosphere. Maybe there's a band, comedian, anything. Maybe the UFC or a boxing match or hockey game's on. These are the things that get people into a bar. Don't walk around advertising cheap liquor, not unless you live in a college town, maybe, I suppose, then. But you advertise the experience. So for me, I think we need to advertise the experience of horse racing. I can only assume that some of you have had a shitty experience only because the horses haven't been that good. And I hope that doesn't deter you from continuing to be involved with TheStable.ca. I have a sneaky suspicion most of you didn't get involved just to, make millions of dollars and win races. I would suspect some of you got involved because you want to have a good time. And I would say, looking at the numbers we've been putting up the last 3 years, I think they speak for themselves. And rest assured, we might only have 400. We have 426 owners right now. But if I wasn't so focused on, putting myself in debt every fall and winter and chasing that bottom line every spring, I could spend more time marketing, advertising, traveling all over the place. I'm going to Indiana on April 15th. Everybody knows we're going to New Zealand in September, right before the Lexington sale. I'm going to Indiana. The Indiana State Racing Commission asked me to come there and be part of a seminar they're putting on for fractional ownership on April 15th. I'm not sure the venue. Maybe it's Hoosier, I'm not sure. But that's going to be cool. So for me, I think this industry needs to wake up. We keep talking about unity. We keep talking about surveys and polls and everything else. I'm done listening to bullshit about we need to do more polling or surveying. No, we don't. We need a way forward. We need leaders that are going to lead, people that are going to be leaders. And the people that are in positions of leadership that are not leaders, please do us all a favor and step aside. Let people take control that actually want to drive this industry forward. And that was my message virtually, literally, on Sunday's article. Listen to me now, I'm touting Harness Racing Update. They do have a great paper, an online paper. They do a great job. So I assume the article I wrote will be in there on Sunday. I'm sure we'll post a link on Facebook and maybe send it out to our clients on Monday. You can well, if this is going to be edited by Curtis on Sunday night, maybe we could stick the link in there, I suppose. So if it's on your email, I hope you enjoyed it. Once in a while, I need to speak my mind, and I tried to come out. I didn't want to preach. I didn't want to tell people this is our way is the way forward. I do believe that affordable fractional ownership is the way forward for this industry. It is what we should market. It is what we should advertise. And I think the growth that we put up speaks volumes. So on to the show. I just wasted 13 minutes and 4 seconds of your time talking about something you may or may not want to listen to. But that's going to push this video pretty long. I guess we'll see how long it is. Anyway, we're going to start with notable news, I suppose. This week we had a shitty week racing for the most part. Jason's entire barn appeared to be sick. It was frustrating because I know that he drew Redwood Against Blood on the Monday. His blood came back good. We raced him on Friday, and it was an abomination. He raced terrible and clearly was sick. I watched them drag him back to the stall after the race, just tired, and burned out. And how can he be that tired? He's raced 3 times. So clearly he was sick. I thought it was an anomaly, and then the day before, actually I knew it wasn't an anomaly. The day before we qualified a bunch of horses. They all seemed a little under the weather. Raced a few. They seemed under the weather. The ones that did race good rode Tripper. Now Kevin McMaster's barn's coming to life. I don't think he won very many races last week, but I don't think he missed a check, and I think most of his horses hit the board. They raced fantastic. Nobody was happier than me to see Road Tripper. Maybe Jeff DeSarmia, his wife. They just bought into Road Tripper. Sold them a share of him. Been a little protective of that horse because he was so terrible last year. I didn't want to sell any shares of him. And now I ended up with, I still own 96% of Road Tripper, and Road Tripper makes me smile. He raced so good on... Anyway, Road Tripper was fantastic. Raced great. Left from post 10. Parked to the quarter. Raced huge. And came flying on the end of it. Or not came flying on the end of it. What am I talking about? He cut it out. Ended up just getting picked off the wire. 59 last quarter in 29 seconds. Well, he went 58-4. I think he tried 59 flat or 59-1, something like that. But raced very, very good. Who's next? Pay the Line Blue Chip. Locked in, finished second, raced great at London. She's getting her legs on her now. It's 3 starts where she didn't put a step in, didn't make a break. I was very, very happy with her. Art Seeker. Man, oh man, what a journey this little guy's had coming to the races. Trained down great, qualified like a bulldog. Raced flat and couldn't steer him his first start. Brett McDonald drove him his second start. He was okay. Third start, he got a bit of a rough trip. Raced him the other night. Raced awesome. Paced 55. Last half, I think 56 and a bit. Last quarter, 29 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. But raced fantastic. Was very, very good. American League, the little troll. That horse hates me. I still own a big chunk of him, and he's never liked me. We've never got along. I don't even drive him when I go to the track. Robert Shepard's doing a great job driving him. He finished second again. Raced good. Airway came out swinging. He's got 2 seconds in both his 2 starts this year. So Airway, very, very happy with what I saw from him. He looked tremendous. So we had some horses schooling. We had qualifying, I'm sorry. Wind Chaser qualified great. A little under the weather, but qualified great. Also qualifying was Zeppelin B. He qualified terrible. He was actually sick, physically sick. He was full of yellow mucus, and he's going to need 2 more weeks. He looked dreadful the other day. But, I mean, the horse tries. He's such a tough little bastard. You know, he went out. I could tell getting into the last turn that he was spent. And he shouldn't have been. He should have been just gearing up, and he was spent. So he's going to get a couple weeks off. McKinnon made his first start, a little under the weather. Tough trip, fast mile. Mile and a 16th. There were 3/4 and 127 and 4 in London. So they probably went a mile and 57 and 2 and then another 16th. So he was simply outmatched, I think, for his first start back. But a little bit sick also. He had some shit in his nose, they said, after the race. Real Willie, schooled fantastic 2 weeks ago. Qualified so-so. Qualified well. The line looks good. But again, had some irritation in his throat. And irritation in his throat and a little bit of discharge and mucus up high. Obviously, there's 2 different kinds of mucus. You have stuff up high, it's allergy stuff, and it's in their sinuses, if you will. But it may not play a huge role in their overall race that night. Maybe a little flat, but not bad. And then you have that stuff down in their throat that obviously interrupts their breathing. Then if you have redness, a swollen, so at the bottom of the airway, there's a little piece of skin, the bifurcation, I think it's called, and it splits into each lung. If that's swollen, you can be sure there's some issues that night where they're irritated, and you don't want to see that. I mean, it's treatable, but you don't want to see that. So we have some issues with some sickness in Jason's barn, which is shocking because 10 feet away on the other side of the wall are Kevin's horses, and they all race great. So it's just the way it is, I guess. Those horses all schooled and qualified well, raced as well as they could. Some of them were a little sick. Buckeye Babe's ready to start. She's ready to school this week. I watched Danny train her the other day. Jason somehow talked him into going with her in the bike, and she looked fantastic. Wow, she looked good. Speedster was in tonight, so for those of you watching the simulcast tonight, you'll see Rose Run Speedster scratched race office error. And what happened was Jason had entered him in the $25,000 claimer, I guess. I see him come out in the sheet. He's in the numbers of $6,000. I thought that was weird. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Jason about it. I just left it as is because I knew that Kevin and Jason had entered Mystical Mission and Meadowbrook Charlie, both in the 6,000 class. Now they were a little bit over, like 6,100 made last 3 or last 5, 6,300. So they were over the class. Technically, they didn't fit it, but they open these classes up all the time. And then I look on the sheet, Rose Run Speedster fit the non-winners of 3,000 that they opened up to the non-winners of 4,200. So my argument on that is simple. Why not just put a horse in there that people are going to wager on? It's not like Mystical Mission or Meadowbrook Charlie where we're going to be 6-5 morning line. They're going to be 3-4-1. Probably going to open up at 5-1, take some money, which is a racetrack is what you'd want. But instead, they let Rose Run Speedster in there, who's going to open up at 20-1, go on the track at 40-1, and take very little money. It makes no sense to me. I'd ask them to scratch the horse. You know, I don't think that's right. So he did. He called and told them he didn't want to race the horse in there. The 25 claimer, which was carried over, didn't end up filling. So we entered him at Western Fair Raceway, and he's in to go Wednesday with the rail on a half-mile track. That could be a problem also. But we'll see. We'll buy some new trotting gloves and see if we can't get him around Western Fair. Mystical Mission raced well in London. He was third. He was a little sick after he raced. Also, not bad, but a little bit. So he's in to go Monday at Woodbine. Now one is a 5. Tough class, but the class that he had beat earlier on in the winter handily. So I'm just waiting for him to come back around. His feet are hurting him. He is coming off the virus. I expect a good showing from him, but we'll see. Boston Glide, he's going to have to maybe take a trip to the B tracks. He was a little sick, obviously, after he raced. Also, trotted in 2 minutes or 2-1, but just kind of followed. I know he can do a lot more than that horse. I schooled him in 2 minutes in with Pacers 4 weeks ago. So I'm expecting more from him. I'm going to maybe ask Jason if he'll race him on a half-mile track, maybe at London or maybe at Flamborough here where Delmar J. Still can't see how he did. Where Delmar J raced tonight. See how that works out. What else? Sally DeVee. I don't know what happened with Sally DeVee last night. I'm watching the replay, and he's gapped 5 lengths going into the last turn. Ends up maybe beat 2 lengths for third or fourth. And I haven't talked to Jody yet or Jason about Sally DeVee, but I know I wasn't happy. So I don't know. The problem is that the class wasn't filling on the smaller tracks, and you're forced to race her where you can race her. And I thought she did it well at Woodbine. She finished 6th last week, but raced well, and it just felt to me like it was a transition race for her where she just needed one start. And now she was raced better this week, and not from what I saw. So given the fact that everybody's sick in the barn, maybe she's a little sick. I don't know, but I wasn't happy with what I saw. So. Probably going to pull some blood on quite a few horses in Jason's barn on Monday. See if we can't get to the bottom of what the hell is going on over there. It just happens, There's nothing more frustrating than having sick horses in the barn. Lameness you can work on. You can focus on it. You know what's wrong. You need to work on that. But with sickness, man, oh man, it's not just as easy as, hey, put them on antibiotics and fluids and away you go. It just isn't. And hopefully it's just a small bug, so to speak, and he can get them cleaned up, and they're probably the ones that are sick, like Zeppelin B is going to miss 2 weeks. McKinnon should be in next week, I would imagine. I don't think he's that sick, and again, different variations of the virus, of a virus, if it's one virus, that hurt different horses in different ways, and it takes them all different time frames to get over it. So it's on a case-by-case basis, and it's really, really frustrating, because when one starts to race bad, what's coming. It's just an absolute flood of depression, and you really just got to ride it out and put them on antibiotics, treat the horses good, make sure they're comfortable and they're at 100% before you ask them again, because you don't want to get into a position where you're taking away from their overall game, if you will. So Sally DeVee, I wasn't happy, but I'm sure she'll be fine next week. Broadway Maya, you guys, for the people follow the stable, know that she raced horrible. She was the first one of Jason's that was really sick, full of mucus, thick yellow shit all the way from the top of the throat all the way down to the lungs. And he gave her a full week off, treated her. I saw her on the track today. She was bouncing and playing. So she, I don't think she'll be tight. I don't think he's going to be able to train her, or he was able to train her. No, he didn't train her. He would have trained her today for Monday in London, and I know she was just out there playing today. So I don't think she needs to be super tight to compete at that level. So I'm assuming she'll be close to, let's say 90-95% for Monday at London. Al, race great. Who's your muscle? My God, this is the devil. I really think she is Satan. She enjoys throwing me around on the track. I want to make sure that he puts her in where I can drive her, because I'm really worried if somebody else drove her. When she lunges, when she goes on the track, she's got the trotting hobbles that are attached to the bike. When she lunges, it throws me forward, and I see it coming, and I kind of got to lock my foot underneath the stirrup to make sure I don't get dumped out of the bike. She is one angry little bugger, and she's fast, but she's crazy. I think she may have some sort of a screw loose. I don't know, but oh man, she's fast, but she's slowly, like baby steps, getting her head screwed on straight, so to speak. She is not a fun horse to drive, but she can win races. I guess I'll tolerate it, I suppose. But I wouldn't want to just hand the lines over and say, hey, Joe, Bill, Bob, Robert, Brett, go drive this horse. Not a fun time for sure. 5 minutes of hell is what I call it. Anyway, but she is fast. She is fast, and she's a nice little filly, like to look at and stuff. But she's like the Tasmanian devil. So she's in Sunday. She's my only drive, race 9 at Flamborough. There's dedication. Coming over for 5 minutes of hell on a Sunday night at Flamborough Downs. So hopefully she wins, because she's fast enough to. I think she's picked to win. And then we get the 3 big boys. Canale, Hanover, Lawmaker, Cruising in Style, all trained well on Friday. Todd went with them all. He said they all trained well. Still about a month away, I'd say, from going any fast miles. But looked good this week. I caught Cruising in Style finishing up. He looked great. I caught Lawmaker's first trip. He looked good. Looked very, very good. And Canale, Hanover, I just saw a piece of him as I was coming off the track with one of the babies. I just saw him going by the 3/8 pole. He looked good too. So by all accounts, they look great. Every week I forget horse. Oh, Stonebridge Hall starting to train back now. We took our time, for our clients. Not the clients that don't own this horse don't realize that the patience we had to show with him. I really thought this horse would be back racing by now, but we did what was right for the horse. And when we were ready to start training, we brought him over twice now to the clinic to have an ultrasound done on his leg. He had a tiny a tear, not a tiny, he had a tear in his left hind suspensory and right front from last year. And the vet just kept saying, give him a couple more weeks, give him a couple more weeks. So we did, and he's starting to train back now. He looks great, looks like $1 million. I believe Dewey Ann, she's going to get a couple months off, as I said last week. I think the corks just did her in. She struggled her last 2 starts. Just needs some time. Even when you get them into the races, that doesn't mean they're matured by any way, shape, or form. Dewey Ann, I think, just going through a growth spurt and having some racehorse aches and pains, and just needs some time off. So we're going to give her 6 to 8 weeks just to cool out, take her time. She's at the farm turned out right now, but we're going to ship her out to a turnout farm this week to relax, play out in the field. And that, I believe, I'm sure I missed somebody. Every goddamn week I miss somebody. Anyway, I think that's it for the race horses. Now Our Power was claimed last week. He raced bad and was claimed. Meadowbrook Charlie was not claimed. I think we snuck one in there. He was third. He didn't win. He was third in the 25 claimer, but raced well. Finished third, a closing third. I was really conservative with him. He was coming off a break, and I didn't want to put him on the list on Kevin, and really happy with what I saw from Charlie. He's in to go in the optional 30 on Monday. We're just trying to find spots for these horses, and we're soon going to be back at Mohawk, and there's going to be an extra day, and classes are going to open up, and so by the time we get all the other horses back ready to go, I think all the classes will open up. But for now, Meadowbrook Charlie, I think it's a good fit for him though. 30 claimer with allowances, he must go for 37 with taxes is over 40. So it's a good fit for him. So that's the racing week from the stable. This week we have everybody out and going again that weren't sick, that needed time off. But I would say let's give it a B- for last week. It wasn't a very effective week, but we had some horses that raced well. We had some promising miles. Off Broadway, flat line, finished third, trotted 2.5 last quarter in 30 seconds. Wouldn't say it's I wouldn't be booking your ticket to the Elite Lop or anything, but he raced good. And Conway Holiday was right behind him, finished fourth, and they both come 30 seconds, I think. Both look good. So if the bad ones are racing good, the good ones are racing good, it's a good week. So we'll be talking about, I'm going to go in and go race these 2 horses, and we'll be talking about the 2-year-olds when we come back. Movers, shakers. I have a top 10 list. Horses I think did really well this week, and some horses that were gelded, and not really any injuries to speak of. Good week. Anyway, be back in a minute, and we will discuss and talk about some of the 2-year-olds.